morning and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our corporate headquarters in Lagos State, Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike, and today we would be starting with our newspapers just to see through everything we have going on right there. And from that would be our conversation also for today. Do well to be part of what we do, have a say in what we say. You can reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally comment and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Very so honored to have joining us via Zoom is His Greatness Agadaigo, barrister, public affairs analyst, development communicator, and he joins us from Delta State, Nigeria. Good morning to you, barrister, and welcome to Enterprise Weekend today.
Good morning, sir. Happy weekend, and always a pleasure for you to have me.
It's always a pleasure also for us, having you, especially with regards to your wealth of experience and your in-depth analysis on some of the big issues in Nigeria. So I'd love us to start with the Saturday Vanguard newspaper. We equally have the Guardian newspaper, the Weekend Trust, which is the weekend version of the Daily Trust newspaper, and also the Punch. But let's start with the Vanguard newspaper for today. Litany of interesting stories. We need help. Governor declares as security worsens. Terrorists kill 30 in Zamfara. Fresh attack. And we equally learned that about 35 equally have been killed in Sokoto, where bandits with over 150 motorcycles invaded the community, abducted scores, and burnt down lots of things. And one would ask, where is the president? Where is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Where is Kashim Shettima, who said he will be in charge of security while the president takes care of economy? Now, both are not even in charge of anything, lots of Nigerians would conclude. But let's take a look at other matters. Nigeria spends a 10.8 trillion naira on debt servicing in 9 months. 10.8 trillion naira debt servicing. Wow. We have other matters. FCT Kano Rivers polls. Wike moves to deliver Abuja Rivers as Kwankwaso Yusuf dig in for Kano State. We equally have other matters. Black Valentine. About 15 Abia wedding guests perish in auto crash. Well, that's a very sad one. Should we blame the roads now that Alex Oti is making good, or should we blame drivers who have been reckless for some time now? But let's take a look at the talking point. Political divorce that could reshape 2027. And barrister, that is between the very good ally, what's the name now? El-Rufai and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Once good friends, they danced Buga at Chatham House after President Tinubu delivered his speech there before the elections. El-Rufai was the one that brought in the Muslim ticket and encouraged the president that was the winning strategy. Today, the two friends are now key enemies. What do you think this would look like as we move towards 2027, barrister?
And what it means is just a signpost that there are going to still be a lot of political divorce in the offing, waiting to happen. And that's why many a times people should not take political friendship too seriously, such as they should not even take political enmity too seriously, because many a times it's their supporters and followers that end up with fatal casualties, while the main actors, at the end of the day, they will shake hands when they see themselves in ceremonies, or at times even hug themselves to make up, or to, if they were friends before, or to draw the departure map on each other. So, in Nigeria, there's a thin line, very thin line, which many a times is extremely vague, between political friendship, political brotherhood, and political enmity. Very thin. defined by interest. What do you have by me? Once the interest of any of the personalities involved is not taken care of, then it's the lack or the taking care of the political interest of any of the personalities could lead to political friendship, political brotherhood, and or political enmity. So it's just, like I said, a signal to that. So as we journey into the 2027 electioneering, many of these developments in many other personalities are bound to play up. Especially, you know, few days ago, the Senate, they were singing APC senators, House of Rep members, and they voted along those lines. As we now, the president has put in the signed into law an electoral provision that for political parties candidatureship, the only two means of ascending candidatureship being a candidate of a political party is either by direct primaries or consensus. Now, as we enter into the primaries phase of this electoral journey, when some of these House of Rep and House of and Senate members, if they lose re-election bids, if, quote me please, verbatim, if they lose re-election bids, we will also see this a departure from this political friendship and brotherhood into political enmity. It's always a question of interests. No permanent friends, no permanent enemy, but permanent interest. That is what will always be at stake, and that is always how this game is going to play.
Yes, I understand that too well, Barrister. There's always room for shaking of hands, you know. But on this particular part that El-Rufai is towing right now, he allegedly said that if he goes into fighting anyone politically, it's either he goes down or the person he is fighting goes down. And historically in Nigeria, we've seen situations where people have lost their lives as a result of that. MKO Abiola, who Nigerians would say won the 1993 elections at the time, was a very good friend of both Babangida and Sani Abacha. But the two gentlemen, military officers, had allowed him to go down, and that led to his life, you know. But in this particular case, do we see similar occurrence happening? Because El-Rufai is not someone that would love to go down just alone without the person he is fighting with equally going down with him.
Well, at least for now, one thing that has made the political space in Nigeria a bit calm and less restless, I may say, is we have not seen high-profile political killings and assassination. At least, thank God, to that extent, the political actors and the government in power have been able to restrain themselves not to go to that extreme length of engaging in any form of political extermination of political opponents. What we have seen is political persecution, bringing up Trump-up charges, arresting opposition figures like Malami and now El-Rufai, harassing them, denying them of security, and denying them of space to operate, as it were. But we have not seen that. And I hope that the players on both sides of the divide will restrain themselves and restrain most especially their supporters and alleged supporters not to go to that very dangerous dimension. I hope that will be the case. If that will be the case, it's just political tactics throwing jabs at each other on media and the rest. Then it is within the political, civic culture to so engage. I hope they will engage with maturity. They will criticize each other constructively and with reason, and then so that this electoral journey into 2027 will be interesting and eventful, and one that will be reckoned in the annals of our history. And that is far different from what played out during the time of Abiola, MK Abiola. The optics are different. This one now is happening in a civil space. That was happening in a military regime, that appeared unwilling to yield power to civilian administration. You know, that was the genesis of Abiola's problem. According to Abiola, if we go back, let memory, he said before he entered the presidential race, he met Babangida and asked him, are you prepared to hand over to civilian administration? And Babangida assured him that yes, that is even tired. I wants to hand over. He assured him, and that's what gave him confidence to throw. Before then there were other transition programs. Abiola did not involve himself. He stayed very clear, far clear away from them. But in this instance, he said he met Abiola and Babangida, and he assured him that he will hand over power. He will leave. He is not ready to continue military dictatorship in Nigeria. And it was on the basis of that assurance, well-grounded assurance, that he threw his heart into the ring. And that's why when the military regime were trying to annul the transition program, that's why Abiola resisted it with all he had, because that amounted to complete, total betrayal of trust built over years. So that one is quite different. This case in time now, we see we are in a civilian administration. We see clearly the incumbent who wants to remain in power by all means, and we see a populace who are completely dissatisfied with the services that have been rendered with the present government in the past over three years, almost 3 years now. May 29th on the way. 3 years, they are completely not only dissatisfied, but completely disenchanted with the policies, program, promises, and service attitude of the present regime. And we see an opposition who is catching in on the sentiments of the majority of the populace to ensure that they do everything they out through the ballot box to throw out the present administration. That is the present scenario in summary.
Okay, so let's
different from what we had in the year 1993.
All right, beautiful. So let's get into other stories we have from the Saturday Punch newspaper also. Big story: night of terror in Zamfara. Gunmen on 150 motorcycles block roads, kills cause, abduct many. Victims buried in mass graves. Analysts renew calls for state police. We equally have other matters from couriers to cartels inside Nigeria's booming cross-border drug empires. We have real reason I hid inside aircraft wheel well in 2013. Remember the store-away guy, the young boy who went into a local aircraft that was flying from Edo to Lagos. He thought that particular flight was going from Edo to UK or Italy, but he found himself in Lagos. So the young boy at that time, he should be around 15 at the time. Now he's a big man now. So he was recalling a story that he went through. But let's take a look at human angle story, barrister. Mirabel, how false rape story turned into money-making venture. You are a lawyer, barrister, and I'd love to ask you, from your wealth of experience, situations where Nigerian youths on TikTok, on social media, because they want the likes, they want the clickbaits, they want the followership, which in turn makes money for them. They peddle lies. On this particular case, Mirabel, a TikToker, lied that she was raped, only to gather clickbaits and views, and it was discovered that all she was saying were all false. How and what does the law say about people who engage in such kind of activities?
Giving false information, dishing out false information, especially to security agencies and the police, is a criminal act. It's a criminal act. And also, giving out false information to the extent that it's likely to breach the peace, because there's an offense known as actions we can take that will likely breach the peace, could also be regarded as a criminal act, because and of course you know that usually why hate speech is globally sanctioned, because hate speech leads to confusion first, then it leads to war, and at times it leads to genocide. Because it will mislead parties to engaging in warfare, and it will also lead to maybe a particular party to try as much as possible to try and exterminate a particular race in hatred. And that is why I think even though the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari tried to really do a lot to raid hate speech, it's just that they misdirected it. Instead of them to dealing with hate speech, they now converted it. Lai Mohammed now converted it into criticisms of Nigerians and opposition figures against the Muhammadu Buhari regime. That's where he diverted. Or dealing with hate speech, dealing with misinformation is a welcome development, because misinformation leads to confusion, general confusion. It leads to destruction of values, destruction of infrastructure, and even destruction of the entire society as it were. So what Mirabel has done is condemnable, and I condemn it. And I'm not too fully seized of the entire story. But if she names a particular person who she actually accused, a real life person, not hypothetical personality, that she accused of being the predator, being the person who raped her, then of course that person has a duty to bring a suit against her for damages, for being defamed, Well, me too, I'm not a fan of this cyber bullying and the rest so much. So I may not really subscribe to that, because I see that law as oppressive. But that person, to the extent that he has been publicly defamed of committing rape, which he did not, I would advise him to file a civil suit.
All right. So, Barrister, just before we end for this particular segment, let's equally take a look at another very important national story. Nigeria spends 10.8 trillion naira on debt servicing in 9 months. The administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is saying that this 10.9 trillion for debt servicing only is not just the money they had accrued. It's a combination from Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to Muhammad Buhari, and now to them. So what we are using to service every debt accumulated since Olusegun Obasanjo had asked the European nation and other nations to forgive us. We went borrowing, and today we service the debt with 10.8 trillion naira. What's your take on this, Barrister? Is it ever possible to have another leader like Olusegun Obasanjo that might pacify the world to forgive us yet again of every debt that we have?
It's possible, but at 2027 is an opportunity for us to make that choice. That choice is staring at us, whether we'll be docile or we'll actively engage with the electoral process to make that choice. Olusegun Obasanjo is not the only personality who can be a good leader in Nigeria. We have other people in the offing who may even be better than Olusegun, Olawole, Obasanjo, and we know them. It's just that I don't want to advocate or campaign for any personality now, because even now, say, INEC, going by their timetable, have not declared open the window for campaign for election 2027. Yeah. So I don't want to beat the gun, but we have them, and we can make it happen. Where there's the will, there's the way. Yeah. Where there's the will, there's the way. And we have the will. All we need to do is to activate that will, put it into action. Power belongs to the people. Government belongs to the people. And it is the people who determines who must lead them. So what we need to do is we know what to do, and we know how to do it. But doing it is the issue. Are we prepared? I hope we are. If we are, we will get the result.
All right.
Olusegun Obasanjo made this nation debtless. Yes, we still have some domestic debts, no doubt. But in terms of foreign indebtedness, yeah, we completely eradicated all our foreign debt. Yes, even Jonathan left some very feeble amount of debt. Feeble, I will call it. The debt overhang we are suffering now is based on the APC government that was completely ignorant of how modern government runs and how to run Nigeria government. They came, and that's why I'm saying all I've said before. They came and led Nigeria by the nose that they want to do better. Nobody asked them how, and when we asked them how, they could not tell us. Or they were promising $1, $1. They will make power stable. They will provide maybe whatever megawatts of electricity. Everything, once we ask them, they will do it. They will provide jobs for the jobless. They were just giving promises, assurances, without even knowing, having a fickle of idea of what was actually on ground.
But Barrister, is this a matter of the APC or individualism at this point? Because Nigerian politics is run in such a way that every politician is a member of the opposition party. It's just that the opposition party didn't give them room, so they diverted to the ruling party. And if APC loses out now, every single person in the APC will go to the ruling party at the time. So is this a matter of not having individuals who understand the rules of engagement and not just casting the blame on party that does not even exist in Nigeria, because every politician is a member of all the parties in the country?
Apart from those who will definitely defect into the party, every political party has its key figures that the party symbolizes. APC, the key figures that symbolize APC, even up till tomorrow, is late former President Muhammadu Buhari and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Before you now bring Akande, those are the two people that are the face of APC till tomorrow.
But they were not members of the APC before now. They were, Muhammad Buhari was with the CPC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was with the AD. So this APC was just a coalition of them coming to defeat the PDP, which means that the APC is even superficial. It is not tangible at this point. It's rather about individual politics as being played by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for example, today. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that, yes, they were, for an example now, if you want to do change of name now, from today now, yes, formally, and you have always been known as Henry Igwe Wike, but from this moment forward that you have done the change of name, you now advise and tell all authorities to refer to you as so and so, and that becomes your new name, irrespective of what you have done. So at the point that they metamorphosed into APC, they now forgetting what they had been, ACN, AD, ACN, and CPC. We are now known as APC, and they campaigned for change to make Nigeria better under APC. And these were the two personalities. One was the presidential candidate. The other one was the leader of the party. These were the face of the party. These were the face of APC, campaigning, promising Nigerians change. And after one finished, the other one took over. And going back to the point where we started from, it appeared that their real policy was amassing debt for Nigeria. Because, of course, Buhari borrowed, amassed fundamental, enormous debt overhang, loaded. One of his legacies is loading Nigeria with extraordinary debt overhang. And even Tinubu, who has even freed Nigeria, as it were, from fuel subsidy, he has not stopped borrowing. The borrowings, in fact, a report said he has now borrowed as much as Buhari borrowed in his 80, if not even more. So it appears that one of the unwritten provisions in the APC manifesto is loading Nigeria with enormous debt, because this policy is both consistent with the Muhammadu APC administration and the Tinubu APC federal government. It's consistent. So they cannot escape from it. So it is them. Why PDP, whether you say all the personalities or majority of personalities in PDP have decamped to APC, is inconsequential. But PDP is known as what they did, because it is your what you do speaks louder than even what you say. What PDP did by what they did, it shows that PDP believes in Nigeria being free from international debt, because that's what they did. That's their scorched card. So we cannot in any way exonerate Tinubu from the present debt overhang that Nigeria is undergoing. The 10.8 or 9 trillion being used for debt servicing is an APC legacy, and if we must tie it to them, they must own it. They cannot, when they came every time PDP, there's no way they can shift it, burden shifting, blame shifting to PDP. No, it is owned, it is purchased by APC, it is bought by APC, it is owned by APC, and they must, as a matter of necessity, take the full blame for it.
All right. Thank you so very much, Barrister. Just to let you know that Barrister would be back to take us on our main conversation when we return. Nyesom Wike tests his grip on Federal Capital Territory as Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and Abba Kabir Yusuf clash in a crucial 2027 political dress rehearsal. In a beat, Enterprise Weekend it is. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Thank you so very much for joining us. And this is still Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television. To our main conversation for today, where we have it that Nigeria's political landscape faces a crucial test as voters participate in major elections across the country. In the Federal Capital Territory, the influence of Nyesom Wike is being closely watched as he works to deliver victory for the All Progressive Congress in the nation's capital. The elections are widely viewed as an early political rehearsal for the 2027 general elections. At the same time, key by-elections are taking place in Rivers State and Kano. In Kano, a political rivalry has intensified between Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and his former ally and in-law, Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, as both camps compete for control of two vacant state assembly seats. The elections are the first conducted under the Electoral Act 2026 and involve large voter participation. The Independent National Electoral Commission reported that about 1.59 million voters are expected to vote across Abuja 6 area councils with a high PVC collection rate of over 94%. Let's get talking. We'll still have His Greatness Agadaigo. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being there for us.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you so well. Barrister, let's get talking on this dress rehearsal for the 2027 general elections with Abuja, FCT, and the Rivers State. But let's concentrate on Abuja now. You are a card-carrying member of the PDP. How does it feel that the PDP has no candidate vying for any of the local government area councils because of the feud, political tension between the Makinde faction and the Nyesom Wike faction?
Well, it's okay. It's not as if PDP was about to pull any serious upsets. I don't really see that happening because...
Why do you not see that happening? Because there were candidates with the PDP already that had no opportunity of continuing because of the issue they have with their party. It's not like they weren't popular. It's not like they weren't doing so well, but because of the political tension in the party, that had disenfranchised them.
No, the truth about the whole thing is that this election, this by-election, is actually going to be a referendum on the new INEC chairman, Joash Amopiton. That's what we are going to use to even assess him. We are going to assess the promises he has made, the pedigree that has been touted in public space that he has, and then his capacity in improving our electoral system in terms of ensuring free, fair, and credible election. And it will give us a clear idea of what we should expect in the 2027 general elections. And I'm sure that's what every member of PDP is watching out for. We are not even watching who will actually win or lose. We are just watching of how, let's see the chairman, what the chairman will bring to the table. Whether the chairman will be able to remove INEC from the impression the former chairman gave Nigerians that INEC is an annex of the APC political party, or INEC is now a truly independent agency of government prepared to conduct free, fair, and credible election. That is the real take we are going to take from the happenings, the going-ons, and the eventual results of all the elections, both Abuja, Rivers State, and Kano, that will be conducted today. Because to tell you the truth, now based on what a lawyer from Kogi State and SCN, based on his confidence in Joash Amopiton, I was really having confidence in Joash Amopiton. But when Joash Amopiton first of all refused to recognize the Turaki leadership, that one created some caution about his neutrality, because usually once any political party leadership or any winner in an election has been sworn in. You recognize them until the court rules otherwise, but he did not do that. That was my first upset.
But the court has done that already in several instances, because it alleged that there were no free and fair election, there were no equality and participation with the Makinde faction of the PDP when they had their delegate coming together to allow for Turaki. So the court has granted that several times, don't you think so?
Usually, it's just like in Rivers State now, who conducted local government elections during state of emergency. Even if the court rules and sacks them, they will still be there until the final court will say otherwise. That's how it is done. I'm sure you know, during Tinubu's election, there was glitch of the e-transmission of the result, which was a serious issue. But they still allowed Tinubu to be sworn in, despite the glitch. And his election challenged until the highest court will say the election was faulty. That's how it is done. But for him to start taking sides, so once they are sworn in, you recognize the Turaki section, give them all rights and privileges until the cases in Court of Appeal and finally Supreme Court decides otherwise. But Joashamoku Beto, who is a senior lawyer, refused to do that. That was my first concern about his leadership. Then my second and more worrying concern was when he now invited a caretaker committee to represent PDP. Caretaker committee that was put together within 24 hours. Caretaker committee that was not put together by NEC. Caretaker committee that no 21 days notice was sent to INEC before it was brought together. And of course, we know that literally PDP's constitution has no provision for caretaker committee. Yet he swiftly invited them, both the acting chairman, caretaker chairman, and the secretary, who has already been expelled in a PDP convention, expelled from PDP, invited them to come and so he, not unknown to him, when he saw that the appeals hearings will started, they were being held the next week. He now said, no, the invitation to them did not mean recognition. How can an chairman begin to, how do we lawyers, we call it appropriate and reprobate at the same time? You invited somebody to represent PDP. When you saw that the appeals hearings have started hearing, then you said, no, the fact that you invited them does not mean you recognize them. So by that, he really shattered this little trust I was beginning to have in his leadership. He dismantled it. And I'm observing whether whatever may be left of the confidence, whether from the way and manner he is going to handle these FCT elections, Rivers State elections, Kano by-elections, whether he is going to go down that road of just destroying any credibility.
All right. Yes. So while we talk about Amopiton and looking at his credibility as would be tested today, let's equally take a look at the very key figure. Nyesom Wike, still a member of the PDP, but has stated that he would not support anyone who does not support the president for the AMAC local government elections in Abuja, which literally means that he does not care about the PDP, that he is more concerned with the APC and the results that would come from it. So don't you think there is this deliberate desire for an implosion within the PDP? Do you see an eventual dying and burying of PDP as all of the cases you have seen continuous?
Well, that is where Makinde and Bala Mohammed stepped into the fray to now expel Nyesom Wike and his likes and his co-travelers from the PDP. But it's just that, and I hope that the courts, after whatever the decisions of the courts will ensure that PDP remains and is a viral opposition. Because you know, why we see these things happening now is because what you fail to do timeously will come and haunt you. Not only you, but each and every one of us. There are things that we need to deal with timeously. We need to take the bold step and cut them out. Once we fail to deal with them timeously, they will come and haunt us at our weakest moments. At our weakest moments. If, for example, you have cancer somewhere, it was detected early, you were negligent, you were slothful, you were weak-minded, you refuse to cut it out. Refusing does not mean it will go away. It's cancer. Cancer is cancer. It will come back and haunt you at your weakest moment.
Yes, Barrister, it is hurting the PDP at its weakest moment now. The cancer infestation illustration you just used has badly infested the PDP right now. Don't you think it is time, as a member of the PDP, to say enough is enough? Let's just allow this PDP go, and let's all move to the new party, which is the ADC. Ireti Kingibe is now with the ADC, and so many other political big wigs who want to still be there come 2027 have all left the PDP for the ADC. Don't you think, Barrister, as a card-carrying member, don't you think it's okay to say, yes, we have fought the good fight, it is becoming a lot difficult, the cancer has infested every organ of the PDP, let's just leave this PDP and move to a new party and start afresh? Don't you think that makes sense?
Of course, it doesn't make sense, because number one, it has not affected every organ of the party, if I may remind you.
Which other organ is remaining?
It's finished now. The board of trustees of the party is hale and hearty. Even the committee, the governors forum, is hale and hearty.
How many people are with the governors forum?
Doesn't matter. Even if there are two, there are parties that are thriving without any governor. Balam, for now, the known two governors we have in PDP is Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State and Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State. So they make up the governors forum of PDP. They are hale and hearty. Also, too, the committee of chairman, state chairman of the PDP are healthy. But most importantly, the vast majority of PDP members, in ordinary carrying members like myself and others, we are clear. The truth about the whole thing, this infestation amount is minute.
Really?
If I want to, yes, they may not be involved up to 100. Yes,
okay.
Wait, not. They are not. They are minute. They are in the minority. But what they have been doing is to use the courts, and for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly, they believe that they have influence to use the courts to get favorable judgment. That's why when we are doing...
Which makes them the majority at this point, because since the majority cannot use the influence of the court to get what it needs and allow Turaki to lead the PDP, the minority are using the influence of the court to subdue the majority with the court. So which means that the minority is over and ahead of the majority at this point.
I have not agreed with them. I said rightly or wrongly. They believe, you can believe something that is right or wrong. They believe that rightly or wrongly, they believe they have influence over Nigerian judiciary to compel them to do their bidding. But I will not accept it until so proven. Thank God this matter now has now, a special panel has been set. You know, in your program, I pleaded with, you remember in your program, I pleaded with the President of Court of Appeal. Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
You remember?
Well. Yes.
To hear all the PDP appeals. Thankfully, and I should thank the President of Court of Appeal, she hearkened to that plea, that public plea, and she has done that. And these matters have been adjourned for judgment. All the PDP matters, 9 appeals, which I want to commend. This is how our judicial system should work. What we are now watching out for is what manner of judgment will be delivered. That's our next concern. And whether, because the Court of Appeal has always successfully resolved this issue, whether the Supreme Court also will help to resolve these issues as they should be resolved. So for now, I'm sure even the whatever faction, they are even humbled, because from what we gather, they were even playing to delay the hearing of this matter, because the delaying of the hearing of this matter by the Court of Appeal works in their favor. But to their utter surprise, the Court of Appeal has heard this matter and has heard it expeditiously. So, and that's why I want to, for the third time, commend the President of Court of Appeal, that more grace to our elbows. And this is how our judicial system ought to function always, always. Because to do otherwise will amount to showing double standards, which should not and should never be attributed to the Nigerian judiciary. So that is. But
Barrister, are you open to a consensus? Are you open to a merger? Are you open to a merger like the CPC and the ACN did, and they merged to become the APC, and they were able to defeat the PDP? Do you think, as a card-carrying member of the PDP, are you open to a merger where you forget about what interest you have, but going to work with opposition parties, so at least it is possible to defeat the APC come 2027?
Before we answer this question, let me land on what I was saying. So hopefully, if the courts uphold the independence of PDP to conduct their internal affairs, that one effectively means that the Wike and others who had been expelled in the Ibadan Convention on the 16th and 17th of November 2025 stands, and it means that they are expelled. So it means that the cancer has successfully been cleared off the PDP. That's what it will mean. So that's why I'm telling you now that all hope is not lost. Okay. And of course, if you have a cancer patient, you know, I told you about my auntie who was sick, who I lost 2 a.m. Christmas Day, 25th December 2025. She had more than 7 heart attacks. Wow. 7 heart, the CPR for her more than 7 times. And we did not give up on her. We kept fighting until the last moment, until the doctor told us that she has given up. Before we gave up, well, we kept fighting. So you don't fight. You don't have somebody now or somebody that say, oh, cancer has infected. Why the person is alive? You say, okay, no, forget the person and walk away. You don't do that. You fight. Winners don't quit. Quitters don't quit. You fight on the person until the last breath. You fight. And that's the point I'm making, that PDP is not on the last breath. It still has so many and everything working for it. Okay. In fact, if it's in the, I want to be optimistic that we are in the last stages of clearing the last small tissues of cancer from the system. So that
I love the optimism, Barrister.
That I cannot go to your question. Yes. You know that under this new leadership, under this new dispensation of Turaship leadership, we will not, PDP will not go into a merger, but PDP is open to joining coalitions with other opposition parties to do away with the APC administration. That's where PDP is going to stand on its feet, stand in its true identity as PDP, People's Democratic Party. But where we find common ground, like, for example, doing away with the visionless APC federal government, we will form alliances with hopefully the ADC, even maybe the Labour Party, maybe the NNPP, and other opposition parties to achieve this common altruistic goal and objective for the good and benefit for all citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so
We
that
hope
we
so.
can move forward for debt overhang to a growing and a fast-growing and fast-developing first 10 economies of the world.
All right.
Where we were.
All right. Yes.
That is our.
Okay.
And I can boldly speak for my party, because the leadership of my party has timelessly, time and time again, professed this political agenda.
All right. Thank you so very much, Barrister. We truly do appreciate your time, but most importantly, your insight on all the things happening in Nigeria. We truly do hope that we would get to that point in this country where other countries would not make mockery of our political system. In Ghana, for example, they are so good and so great at playing politics. When a particular party is not doing well, Ghanaians will do everything possible in unison to remove that political party and have another party without rancor, without infighting, without anyone plugging to the center. In Nigeria, it is not the same. Every politician is a member of all the parties, and these are areas I would love to think that the government would ensure that in order to save our democracy, save politics in Nigeria, we should have a situation where politicians must stay true to the ideology they profess within the ranks and the files of their party. But I truly do hope that not in any time soon you would defect. I love to believe that, because you have often shown trust for the PDP. I just sincerely hope that in the future you won't defect to another party.
Sorry, number one, I'm not going to defect. I'm not hoping to defect. I'm not a regular politician. But you will appreciate that why Ghana is like that, because they have credible election managers. And that is that was supposed to be Jonathan's lasting and shining legacy, which he did at the risk of leaving office and being able to fulfill his second tenure. But unfortunately, that was supposed to become the fate of Buhari in 2019, but he refused. Buhari refused for that legacy to continue. That is that's why we are, or this issue of credible election management has already been achieved by Jonathan 11 years ago. 11 years ago. Just imagine if that legacy had been allowed to endure, where we will be now, how we would have gone much higher. So there must be consistent good leadership. It's not enough for us to just have one good leader. We must have consistent good leader. And that's why in the last 50 years or so, apart from the two best leaders Nigerians have ever produced is number one, Obasanjo. Second, Goodluck Jonathan. Goodluck Jonathan, who even when leaving 2015, gave his predecessor of another political party robust outlook of all sectors of the economy. He gave him a clear blueprint and made his second in command, Sambo, to lead the transition team, to present the true state of every sector of the economy to the incoming opposition party coming in, so that he can hit the ground running. But unfortunately, the opposition party, Buhari, did not take advantage of it. Instead of them to Osinbajo, the head of their transition program, so that he could take those blueprints serious, they made somebody else the head, and they didn't take all those things serious, and that's why the country went backward. So thank you for always inviting me.
Thank you.
I'm always at your service. I'm your humble servant, and it's a privilege to always have me in your very, very prized prime time. I'm so grateful, sir.
Thank you so very much, Barrister. I truly do appreciate your time, your insight, your experience, and most importantly, the desire you have to see a better Nigeria. We truly do appreciate all of that. And that's our time for today. Please do well to follow us. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com to read up on everything we've talked about today with Barrister. And you may equally download and share with your friends on all social media platforms and leave your comments behind, so we would equally read them and internalize them, reply to every questions that you have, so that as a people we can form a community of right thinking people that would hopefully do good to Nigeria. Have yourself a splendid day. I am Henry Gwebike. Until I see you next time, bye bye.